What is going on? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever, wherever, and always, however you are watching this. And statistics show it's probably in the bathroom. So, as always, wash your hands. This is our little a little deeper dive into this past Sunday sermon here at Tucka Siege. Just a little opportunity for discipleship during the week, a little hope for your hump day, and however and whatever you want to call it from that part. We are walking through the book of Colossians, Paul's letter to the church there, to the Colossians, and it's a great short little letter. It's part of the prison epistles of Paul. I'd encourage you. It's a very easy read. It's 4 chapters, but we're kind of walking, and we walk through it at our church, verse by verse, kind of an expository way. And this gives us an opportunity to have a little side conversation about what it is we read. And this past Sunday, we were in Colossians chapter 1, verses 9 through 14. And it's essentially still there in the welcome, but Paul's kind of saying, hey, this is our prayer for you, right? He says, so we have, from the day we've heard from you, of you, not ceased to pray for you, asking that you may be filled with the knowledge of his will, that is God, and all spiritual wisdom and understanding, so as to walk in a manner worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing to him. And then he goes on to tell us what that looks like, right? Bearing fruit in every good work, increasing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, for all endurance and patience with joy, giving thanks to the Father who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of the saints of light. And so Paul is leaning into this idea and understanding of who they are, and who more importantly, who they are in Christ, and what they have through that. And again, as always with the gospel, we see this lean into or emphasis on the fact that this is a gift from God, the grace of God, not a work lest any man should boast, right? When he talks about this idea that this is an inheritance. So if we work backwards in this inheritance that we have, this understanding of who we are in Christ, of the salvation that we have, the gospel working in us, not just to save us, but to sanctify us and shape how we live out. Paul says that's going to be manifest. I pray for it to be manifested in your life in these 2 ways, right? That you are filled with the knowledge and understanding and wisdom of God's will, and that you walk in that will. To know God's will and to walk in God's will. And Sunday we talked about, and there's several verses in the Bible that speaks specifically and almost implicitly, right, to the will that God has for us. You know, we think about Micah 6:8 in the Old Testament, 1 Thessalonians 5:16 through 18, Ephesians 3:13 through 17, I think, or 15 through 17. Romans 12:1 and 2, Paul talks about this, right? You know, offer your bodies a living sacrifice. What God wanted me to offer my body a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. Not being conformed by this world, but transformed by the renewing of my mind, right, through his word. And so we begin to see what this is, and then we can discern what his will is. And so we see that God has this purpose for us, and a lot of times we spend these times pontificating on what his purpose is for us, and the true struggle isn't in knowing what we should be doing, it's doing what we know we should be doing. And so I heard a pastor break it down this way, kind of gave this, and this is kind of our story today, right? He said, you know, a lot of us approach God's will and the word like like children whose father, when he gets ready to leave to go to work, says, hey guys, it's trash day. Make sure you take the trash can out, push it out to the end there so we can get the trash picked up, and we're good to go. See you later. We get home. So the dad comes home and pulls up, and he looks, and the trash can's not out there, and he walks in. And all of his kids are gathered around, and they're studying, and they're being quiet, they're being good, they're just looking around, and they're doing this like deep thought and stuff. And they're like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" And like, great dad, we're in the middle of something here. And it's like, well, what are you doing? I said, you didn't take the trash can out like I'd asked. I just noticed it was still, up here at the garage. And they're like, well, Dad, we got to thinking about what it was that you said when you said, hey, take the trash can out to the curb. And we thought, man, how deep is that? And so we just started thinking about that, and so we started studying and leaning into, what did you really mean by that, and how did you come about that? And we thought about the philosophical implications of taking the trash out of our own lives and pushing it to the curb, and this need that we have to introspection and really thinking about. And the dad's just like, okay, and they go through all this stuff and say, so Dad, we didn't have time to push the trash can out to the curb because we were really thinking about what it meant to push the trash can out the curb. And Dad's like, well, I'm glad you thought about it, but you should have done it. And so that's how we approach God's will sometimes. Like, oh, I got to figure out what it is. Like, no, I've told you, old man, right? What it is. God has told you what it is to walk humbly, to love kindness, right? To follow God. It is this idea to pray without ceasing, or to be joyful in all circumstances, to pray without ceasing, to give thanks in all circumstances, right? I've told you this, literally, 1 Thessalonians 5:18 at the end of saying, be joyful always, pray in every pray at all times, pray without ceasing, and be thankful in every circumstance. This is God's will for you. That is His will. And it's not just to hear it, but to do it. We don't have to sit around and pontificate on the higher thoughts of this. Should we? Is it important to study theology, do those things? Yes, absolutely. But while we're doing, right? While we're shoulder to shoulder, living out the truths of the gospel, taking out the Great Commission, living out the Great Commandment, following the ordinances and the commands of God, shoulder to shoulder working, we have those conversations. We go deeper. We think about those. Yes, but do it, right? Do it. And you know, you can have paralysis by analysis. Oh, I got to really contemplate. He's not going to strike you dead when you're endeavoring to live out His will if you do it incorrectly. Oh, I did this. Didn't mean to, right? Do something. Read it. Start with loving your neighbor. Start with loving him with all your heart. Start with loving yourself correctly, right? Doing these things, and then go deeper from that. Yes. So it's this continual growth, right? It's a continual process of living out His commands. Jesus told us that this is a man who hears what I say and does it. It's like a man who builds his house on the rocks, and when the storms came and the winds rose and the rains hit it, it stayed and it stood because it was on a firm foundation. But someone who hears my word and doesn't do it, it's like a man who builds his house on the sand. When the storms came and the winds blew and the rains hit, it was destroyed, and great was its destruction. His brother James would tell us, don't just be hearers of the word and so deceive yourselves. Be doers, right? So don't just deceive yourself and say, hey, I'm checking boxes. I must have faith because I study this stuff. No, faith is going to be revealed in your actions. It's going to manifest itself, right? Practical results of our faith are the fruit that we see, right? In our lives, and then manifest in the lives of others too. So this is an ongoing process. Went way longer. Then I'm trying to get these things shorter and probably maybe less stories. I don't know. Who cares? You don't have to watch it all. You don't anyway. So hope you have a great day. Hope you take these truths. Hope you apply it. Go and read Colossians. Read through it. Read through the first chapter. And hey, if you're looking for somewhere to come worship, you can come hang with us at Tucka Siege. And as always, we have midweek things that are going through the midweek on Wednesdays at 6:30 to 8 at Tucka Siege. You can always go back and watch these sermons and full worship services on YouTube, or just watch the sermon on Facebook, or however you get your social media. You can do it all there. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you have an awesome rest of your week. Hey, go get in the pit. Do something. Love somebody today. Bye. I almost said peace. I'm glad I didn't. But